Um, this tutorial focuses on block level and inline level elements. Now, in HTML, elements are classified depending on how the next element is aligned where if it's aligned next to the previous or preceding element, it is called inline element, or if it's in the same line, it's called inline element, and if it is starting in a new line, it's called a block label element. Now we will go to our HTML tutorial, then we just start our project in VS Code. Now this was where we left off previously, so in the last tutorial. Let me just remove this and this. Now we were working on formatting and quotation citation. Now in this tutorial we will just remove all this and we will see block label elements and inline elements. Now this is very important. Knowing the difference is important because especially when working in CSS, when you style your elements, you will need to know which element is full width, which element starts in a new line, and which element is in the same line. So for this, I've prepared a Word document, and this classifies this section over here. This list is for the block level elements, and we will try to see some of them, and this one is for the inline level elements or the inline elements. So let's jump to the project, go to HTML. Let's open the index.html. This time I just want to show you a new browser. So let's open it with Chrome, or we could even use the live server, but no problem. Oh, let me save this and refresh. Now nothing. Let us try to use the address, for example. Let's use the address and maybe USA and another address here, this time Africa. It's a very general address, but it's just an example, and when you refresh it, it starts in a new line. Africa starts in a new line. If it's an line element, it would start, or it would be around here next to the USA. That's the difference between block level elements and inline elements. Inline elements are side by side to the preceding element. Okay, let's just see an example of an inline element together with this. For example, let's use the button. So maybe a sign-in button and another button for register, then save, then refresh. You can see that two elements are now side to side. By the way, if you want this this reference, you could go to w3schools.com and go to the HTML section, and you can find more about this. Now let us say And one thing you should know is you can change a block level element to an inline element and vice versa. We haven't seen adding styles and CSS to our HTML, so I'm not gonna be dealing with CSS that much, but for you to see the results, just this is just one type of using CSS, one way of using CSS, and there are other two ways of using CSS. I just want to select all the addresses and display them to inline. Now you can see I changed the display of all the addresses in our HTML document to an inline. There are more displays now. As I've told you, it's not about this tutorial is not about CSS, so I'm not gonna show you much of CSS, and vice versa. You can also change an inline element to a block level element. Now if you, for example, as you know, address is a block level element. Now go to address and just give it a background color of red, and if you refresh, you can see it takes the full width, whereas our content is just this one. And you can adjust the width of a block level element. As I've told you, this is not a CSS tutorial again, but I just to understand what block level and inline level elements are, I guess this is important. Now if you refresh, you can adjust the width and height, and many properties are there in CSS of your block level elements. Now let's just remove every CSS here, every style. We will go to this CSS in the next part, but let us just try some of the block level and inline level elements. For example, let's try form. You can have a form. I'm not gonna put some inputs, and okay, let's put some inputs. Input type text. Let's just put a username placeholder, then refresh. Now you can see there's a username. Now let's put another form, this time for password. Now you're not gonna write your HTML this way in a normal situation, but it's just an example. So now, because it's a block level element, it's starting in a new line. Now let's go to, for example, inputs. We've seen inputs right here, so let's just remove this form. Now we have two inputs inside our form. Let's refresh it. Now it's an inline element. Before finishing or before ending this tutorial, I just wanted to show you two important elements when talking about block level and inline level elements. These are the span element and the div element. The div element is a block level element. We will remove all this and all the buttons. Now in the block level element, let's just create a div called maybe container, doesn't matter, and another div, maybe container too. Now you refresh and you will have two block level elements and maybe span. Let's just write the span inside the div, and refresh. What if I I'm a div. Now you refresh. As you can see, the span element is inside the div, the first div element. This one is the first div element. You could comment in each part, or we can also make it more visible this way, I guess. Yeah, it's better this way. Let's remove this div. I'm a second div. Okay, now inside our first div, we have a span and a div element. As the span is an inline element, it will go together with the first element. As you can see, the container and hello. It's just I'm a span. Now the container, then I'm a span. The next element is a block level element. Because a div is a block level element, it goes to the next line instead of sitting in side to side with the other elements. This is an important concept in HTML. We can try a table. Okay, as you can see, table is a block level element. Now don't worry about the syntax or the tags we're using, because in the next tutorials we will we will see more about them specifically. I will create a tutorial about tables, a tutorial about forms, individually sort, so don't worry much about the tags for now. Then a table cell. Okay, this is the name of my YouTube channel. So and I will create another table. Okay, let's just make this username, then refresh. It's starting in a new line. So anyways, this is just a repetition. You could get this resource from w3schools.com, or you could even get it from the screen. You could take notes. So whichever way you prefer, you can use. So thank you very much for watching. I would like your subscription if you like the video. I would even appreciate your likes and your comments. Thank you very much.